Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. And today we're going to be doing the 2,500 mile update on the brand new 2024 Chevy Colorado. So let's get right into it. Let's get into the 2,500 mile update. I've had this truck now, I think it's coming up on 30 days. So I've had a good amount of time with the truck. I drive, for the work that I do, I own my own company and I drive a lot. So I'm in the truck, I mean, pretty much all day, 5-6 days a week. So I've got plenty of experience so far with the different features, things that I like and things that I dislike. So I'm just going to go through. These aren't in really any particular order, but they are definitely just some good things to know about the truck if you're looking at getting one for yourself. So let's start off with the first thing. So I did a YouTube short talking about how to set your memory settings so when you exit the truck, your seat will just move backwards so you're not kicking that side panel. And that feature is great. The problem that I have is half the time when I get into my truck and the seat is in that far back position, when I get into the truck and start it, it stops like halfway through. It doesn't go to my preset like #1 driver seater position, right? So it's a minor annoyance, and I'll talk to them, the Chevy dealership, when I do my oil change to see if they can look at that. But it's just annoying, right? You pay all this money for this truck. You want all these features to work. So what I'm having to do is when I get in the truck, if it doesn't move all the way to that driver position, I have to hold down the #1 button until it gets into that position. Is it a huge deal? No. Is it a deal breaker? No. But it is definitely a slight annoyance. I'd be curious to know if any of you guys have that same issue with yours. So that's something that I dislike. Let's move on to something that I like more than I thought I would, and that would be the cameras. The in-depth camera system that this truck has is phenomenal. On a regular basis, obviously, I'll use the backup camera, and I've got mine programmed to where it shows half of the camera or the picture is the backup camera, or probably 3/4 of it is the backup camera, and then about 25% of the screen is the 360 like bird's eye view, and I really like that feature. The other one that I use a lot is the side cameras. So for my job, I'll park in front of houses a lot of the time. And so I'm having to pull up on the curb. And I find myself more and more when I'm pulling up to a house is just hitting that side camera view just so I can get as close to the curb as possible. And so that has been great. I knew the camera system was going to be cool, but I did not think that I would utilize it nearly as much as I have been. So that's +1 for Chevy, and obviously there's a lot of trucks out there that have and cars that have that, but I love it. I absolutely love it. So, all right, so let's move on to a dislike. I'm just picking random ones off of this list. All right, so here's one. So we've got that switch on the kind of center area where you've got like your aux cord and your lockers and all that good stuff. So there's one that rolls all 4 windows down. And when I use that, and it seems to be not when I do them independently, but when I roll all 4 of them down at the same time, there's this like choppy, like grindy kind of resistance noise that I believe is coming from the front driver's side window. But when I roll it down just using the one driver's side window button, it doesn't make that noise. And same thing with the seat memory is it's not 100% of the time. It's just sometimes it'll just make this noise. It just doesn't sound good. It sounds like the window's like rubbing up against something, maybe the inside panel or whatnot. But kind of going back to the memory seats, like, you pay all this money for this truck. Like, why are we having some of these, albeit minor issues, but we shouldn't be having any issues at all. The other thing, which is kind of like a universal problem with Apple CarPlay, is the lag between video and audio drives me crazy, right? So we've got this cool wireless CarPlay, and this is not on Chevy. This is on Apple or whoever, maybe it is on Chevy. I don't know. But, you know, a lot of times if I'm early for an appointment, I'll just sit in my truck and I'll watch YouTube. And what I'll find myself doing to avoid that lag is disconnecting the phone from wireless CarPlay, and then plugging into wired CarPlay, and that lag goes away. Like I said, that's not a fault of Chevy or anything like that. It's just, you know, a minor annoyance, but that would be with any vehicle that you purchase, at least that I know of, right? So let's talk about another thing. This will be something that I really like, is I like the fact that I can start my truck from my phone or just from the key fob. When I'm leaving a house, typically 3 to 4 minutes before I'll get into the truck, is I'll just start it up, and I've got my target temperature set to 60 degrees, right? So it's got the air on full blast trying to cool down the truck. That is super nice. When I had my F-150, it was a black F-150. I did have, I think it was 5% tint on everything but the windshield, and I had black leather seats. And anytime I would leave a customer's house, or maybe I was leaving the grocery store, whatever, I would get in the truck and I would just start sweating because it's just so hot in there. Even having 5%, you know, ceramic tint, it just really did not help with that heat at all. So I find myself using that feature where I'm starting my truck ahead of time, and just getting it cooled down, and it just makes it for a much more comfortable experience getting into the truck before I'm, you know, driving to the next property or whatever the case may be. I've been using that a lot. Here is something that I wish that Chevy could have improved upon, and I'm not an engineer, and maybe this is just unfounded, but I feel like there is just such a lack of storage under the rear seats, right? And I think maybe that's probably why they included the Stowflex tailgate storage. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it's like I feel like all I can do is fit the jack and the tools under the rear seats, and then I've got I think a few ratchet straps. And like a snow brush or ice scraper or whatnot for those random times that it snows in the winter, or ices in the winter. But there's just really not much storage at all. When I had my F-150, it didn't have any underseat storage, so I bought, I think it was a company called like Duha or something like that, I don't know. But they made these storage bins for under the seat, and there was tons of storage in that. Obviously, the F-150 is a full-size truck compared to a mid-size truck, but I feel like the storage space under those seats could definitely have been engineered a little bit better, which moves me on to the Stowflex. I think the Stowflex is a great idea. The one thing that I wish it had is I wish there was some sort of lock. And maybe there is a product out there that I'm not familiar with, but if not, there's a great $1 million idea for somebody to run with. You know, obviously, even with the lock, if somebody wanted to get into the Stowflex storage, they could still, you know, pry it open or whatnot. But what it is I think it would be a natural deterrent for thieves, and especially for people who don't have a tonneau cover, right? I don't have a tonneau cover yet. That is coming. That's another thing on the channel that I'm going to be installing on the truck once we get that. But in the meantime, like, I don't use that storage at all. Just because, you know, I have maybe it's an irrational fear of somebody getting into that Stowflex storage and just taking whatever's in there, right? But even if, you know, it's just a couple ratchet straps, like, I don't want to have to replace that. So having a lock on the Stowflex, I think, would be a great idea. So this is a small one, but I think it's pretty cool. I've noticed that when I have my phone in the wireless charger and I go to grab it, you know, your hand will make contact with the wireless charging pad that's in there, and it's always cold. I'm not talking about like it's cool or it's, you know, a normal temperature. No, it's actually cold. So I don't know if Chevy put like a fan under there, or somehow if AC is routed by that area before it goes out of the blowers, but I think that is a great thing to have. My phone is never overheating, and it works well, right? It's not a slow charger. It's a reasonably fast charger, especially for a wireless charger. So good on Chevy for making a great product to put in that area of the truck. Another thing that I like is, this is a small feature, and maybe I'll go over a couple things that I've noticed that aren't really necessarily like big features, but just convenient things that I like. The other day I had my AC on, and I wanted to roll down the windows of the truck. So I cut the AC off, and that cut the I cut the AC off, and I believe it cut the heated or the ventilated seats off as well. And I rolled down my windows, and I drove for 15-20 minutes on the way home. And I was like, all right, cool, let me roll these windows back up and cut the AC back on. So I rolled the windows back up, and I did that. I turned the AC on, and it was still at the same setting as it was when I cut it off. Obviously that's not a huge feature. I just think it is a cool, convenient thing that when you turn it back on, my F-150, if you cut it off and turn it back on, like, it wouldn't be on the recycle air setting. It would be on like the max blower that it possibly could be. So just it remembering and just going back to the same temperature, the same fan speed that I have is awesome. So another cool feature that I found out, I'm not 100% sure on this, but it seems to be, but I use the emergency braking. So those like 4 or 5 red triangles, when you get too close to a car and they're braking, you're accelerating, it'll beep and flash on your windshield. I use that, and I also use the adaptive cruise control. And what I've come to notice is when you set the adaptive cruise control gap, that is also the adjustment gap for the emergency braking. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I've noticed. Is I changed my gap the other day, and I noticed that the emergency braking thing like kicked on 2 times when it like rarely ever turns on. And when I looked up, I was like, oh, I'm super far away from this car that's in front of me. So I think that gap adjustment is also for the emergency braking. So if anybody knows that for fact, let me know in the comments down below. I'd be curious. But that's everything when it comes to the list that I made. So let's just talk about like overall general thoughts and feelings about the truck. It's an absolute joy to drive. There's somebody in my comment section who said that he was having an issue. He either had he had a 23 or a 24, and he had this issue where he felt like his transmission was slipping. I haven't noticed that whatsoever. I think it drives phenomenally and it brakes phenomenally. I don't have any transmission issues or anything like that. And obviously, I'm 2,500 miles in. Like, if I had any sort of issues, that would be a pretty big problem. The one thing that I do notice is I'm pretty light on the gas pedal, and there always seems to be a little bit of throttle lag and turbo lag. So I know they make those like throttle adjusters. I'm not planning on putting one of those in my car. Because obviously for those you can just hit the gas a little bit harder, but or the gas pedal a little bit harder. But yeah, I noticed that it doesn't get up and go. And I don't know if that is specific to mine. I don't know how it would be. But there's a lot of people online who are talking about, oh, I don't have any lag whatsoever. I hit the gas pedal and that thing just takes off. And it's not a huge delay. It's not like, it has to just think for a minute before it just starts and gets up and go. But in those times that like I've needed to merge real quickly, or I was trying to overtake a car on the interstate, I noticed that it's like, all right, I hit that gas pedal and I'm like, when's it gonna kick? And then automatically, it'll just start kicking from there and speed up. But I'd love to know if that is anything that any of you guys have noticed as well. But in terms of just driving it, it's been great. Gas mileage, I think I averaged right around 17. I believe they advertise like 16 miles per gallon. I do a lot of highway and city driving. I did drive on the interstate earlier today, and it was like mostly interstate driving. And I've got one of like the single tripometers on the driver display, and it said that I was averaging like 23.5 miles to the gallon. So, if you're doing a lot of just strictly highway driving, I think you definitely can get some decent gas mileage out of it. But on an average, I've noticed that I'm getting right around that 16 to 17 miles per gallon. It's not an issue for me. The one thing that is a little bit annoying is just going from the F-150 down to this midsize truck. It obviously has a smaller gas tank, so I do find myself having to stop at the gas station, way more often, probably twice as much as I did in the F-150. You know, but that's something that I've gotten used to. I didn't buy the truck for good gas mileage. You know, it just is one of those things that it's a truck. It is what it is. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it has been an absolute joy to drive. Would I recommend you go out and get a Colorado? Yeah, absolutely. Whether you get the ZR2, you know, or Trail Boss or any other LTs or whatever, I think it is a great truck for just an all-around, you know, person. If you have like a landscape company, you know, or you're doing a bunch of towing, is it the best truck for that? Probably not, right? But I just love trucks. I've always loved trucks, but I don't usually utilize, and you know, you can call me whatever you want in the comments down below, but I don't utilize my truck like most people utilize, you know, trucks when they get trucks, right? It's rare that I'm hauling anything. I think I hauled something in the F-150 maybe a couple times, like a U-Haul trailer, you know, but yeah, I just, you know, I like trucks. I think trucks are cool. And for those times that I do need a truck, it's nice to have that available, you know, and not have to go out and spend $100 on a truck rental for, you know, a few hours. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend for anybody who's not using, you know, a truck on a regular basis for hauling stuff, you know, loading stuff up. You know, I think it'd be a great truck for anybody. So it's super safe, especially with all the safety features as well. So if, you know, if you've got like teenagers, you know, who are learning how to drive, I think it'd be safe for that. You know, there's a lot of body, you know, for the truck, so it sits pretty high up as well. You know, I'm sure that's a safety concern for a lot of people, but yeah, 10 out of 10 would absolutely recommend it. My next update I'll probably won't do until I don't know, either like a 6-month review or like a 10,000 mile review, right? So we did the, you know, initial impressions on the truck. Now we're at 2,500 miles, so I've had a good amount of time. You know, I think once we start getting into that 10,000 miles or that 6-month mark is, you know, where if there are small things that are going to go wrong, I'll start to see that and can relay that information over to you guys. I've got a lot planned for this truck. Like I said earlier, I'm supposed to be getting on, I believe Monday, I'm getting the Bullet Point Mounting Solutions Ruby Grid. I'm super excited about that. I looked at theirs, I looked at Ram mounts, and I looked at a couple like, you know, quote unquote off-brand models of that. And it just seems like the Bullet Point Mounting Solutions one is by far, you know, the best well-made one, but also, you know, the most popular one. So I'm excited to do that. I'm gonna do like an initial impressions on it. We'll do an install, all that good stuff. So other than that, there's a bunch of stuff that I want to do to this truck, and maybe I'll make a separate video kind of talking about the plans that I have for it. But I hope you guys are enjoying the content. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Keep in mind, we do have our poll still up for the 250 subscriber giveaway. Yeah, I'm just gaining, you know, subscribers like, I don't know, like 10 a day, it seems like. This channel is just like, it's crazy, man. You know, I started this and I didn't think that I would, like I said in the last video, I didn't even think I'd ever get to 100 subs. So to be pushing, you know, 175 now, setting a goal for 250 is amazing. So thank you guys for watching these videos. Go vote on that poll on what you want to do for the giveaway. We got a few different options. Right now, I think that the vehicle first aid kit is still in first place, but I'll just keep that poll up until we do that giveaway. So thanks again for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next one.